I am an innovation leader at Nationwide, leading a team, a satellite office in the Atlanta space. And this is my second corporate innovation group in the Atlanta region. And I have to admit, what I think is so great about Atlanta, that Atlanta does better than a lot of the other cities, exactly what Alex and Jay and Jeff have been talking about, is really bringing together that community and thinking about how do we solve these big problems together, whether it's for our company, our consumers, or it's for the intersection between all of these companies and these consumers. Right, Nationwide, very specifically, right, we've just gone through a rebranding of our mission, really looking to evolve, and how do we think about protecting our people, their businesses, our collective futures through a world with extraordinary care, right? This idea of how does a protection company start to rethink of itself in the 21st century above and beyond, right, your traditional insurance and financial products? How do we start to think about the holistic person, not only the tangible things that they need protected, but the intangibles, right? Their safety, their emotional safety, their time, their energy, right? The spaces that they coexist in. And how do we as a company who want to be a part of that conversation really protect those things that matter most? How do we rethink how we solve those needs for our consumers? And do that in a way where we're working alongside them and partnering with them to find ways to solve those together. So right, we use a very, very traditional design thinking process to really say, right, we have expertise, but we want to walk alongside those folks, right? Our partners, our consumers, right, our potential people out in the world, and really identify how do we solve and bring these. Atlanta has a unique ability to reach across companies or across different sectors of the market and really decide to come together to get something done. Right, I have a lot of friends, and I'm from Seattle, so I have a lot of connections with a lot of the other innovation hubs and communities. You just don't see that same level, right? Lisa's done a great job kind of curating that community of people who are willing to come together to have real discussion, real dialogue, establish real partnerships, certainly from a corporation perspective, right? The fact that I can get on the phone with my peer at Home Depot or my peer at, at Southern Company and just say, hey, I'm having this problem, whether it's a project problem, whether it's a leadership problem, we can really brainstorm together in a way that's a win-win for us as different corporates, but also a win-win from an ecosystem perspective. Is just unique in the fact of how we all come together and how we're all thinking kind of at all three of those levels. What is the win for Atlanta? What is the win for my company? And what is the win for my team and my customer, right? And the ability to do that in a open, transparent, and collaborative environment just doesn't happen elsewhere. And we really wanted to tap into that community, right? That's only enhanced by all of these great things around it and that support and prop up what we're actually trying to get done, right? The schools, the education, the startup community, the technology community, right? The diversity that's in Atlanta that allows us to actually tap into great ideas and make sure we're solving for everyone holistically, not just a certain subsect of the market. I love all the words that we're using, and one of the words that we talk a lot about is intention and iteration, very similar to what Jeff is saying, right? What is our intent? What are we thinking about? How are we pulling that across all levels, right? Jay, 100% leadership, and how does that look? And you pull all of that down to how are we designing, very specific experiences and products, and are we listening and bringing in diverse views, and how are we pulling and doing that at all levels of the company, that we really are holistically moving forward and we're not leaving any part behind. And then, right, how do we iterate our way there, right? I think of innovation in the fact that, what we do good as innovators is setting the vision and then continue trying things and seeing how they work so that we can slowly make that way to that better future, right? Being open to trying and iterating and finding the right way, finding the right partners to be along with you in that journey is very much how you get there. So, I think if I put on my Nationwide hat, we're very intentional at reaching out to partners, getting the community involved, making sure we're having conversations, not only at the leadership level, but all the way down to our very specific teams and how we think about designing products, how we're bringing in diverse talent on the team, how we're pushing one another to think about, are we including all of the voices as active partners, not just participants, to make sure that we're making decisions at all of the right levels. And then being honest with ourselves on, are the ways that we're thinking about doing it right? Are they moving the needle? What do we need to change? What do we need to keep? Right, and to use the lovely consulting phrase, right? What do we stop, right? And how do we just continue making progress so that we get to that? And we are, we keep it as a flag that we're walking towards or running towards, hopefully, so that we can all end up in a better place and really tap into the beautiful magic that happens when you actually can, crack that nut and allow true diversity to impact innovation. One of the things that attracted me to Nationwide when I first joined over 2 years ago was the vision that was set forth by our board and our CEO. So, right, Nationwide is we're very privileged to be a mutual, right? So we're not traded, we're a privately owned company. And it really was our board's vision of what is the future of Nationwide and how do we expand that vision of protection to all realms of what that can be. And so, they were very clear on, as we approach our centennial in the next couple of years, what is the ways that we're going to activate what protection means in this new world, and how are we going to expand our product portfolio to support those. So we have very clear and very strong support from the top down, which has really allowed us and allowed our teams the autonomy and the responsibility to act and think like a startup, to go out and solve needs for our consumers. So we do use, we if you think of process, we have aligned on a process and a way in which to gain alignment, focus on the things that are most meaningful and impactful for our business and our consumers. And then really allowed by, aligning on the process, allowed the teams to really kind of move forward and bring those visions to the process. So, if you think about it, we have 2 products that have launched recently, Spire and Nimble. We're launching another product here in Atlanta in January. And so that vision for us is really, how do we add to that definition of protection and do that in ways that are demonstrable to our consumers and that are really focused on things that consumers have needs around. So, we use a design thinking process, like I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. And, if I think of that extraordinary care piece of our mission, we want to do things that actually add value to our consumers, that really are focused on their needs and their life and the way they want to live it. And we are kind of the partner in that process. And then that kind of is the framing for our overall innovation strategy, coupled with that idea of freedom for teams to go out and chase the things that they think are the most important opportunities to chase. Yep. And then the ability to execute.
And then briefly, in terms of how you're measured, is it proof of concept? Is it actual product that goes to market? Is it, and then related to that, what's your advice for other people sort of in your position about getting more resources from corporate and continue to invest?
Resources.
Particularly now, as resources may get cut and may be harder to come by.
Yeah. I think resources is the name of the game. I mean, we are measured by 2 things, especially as thinking about a new startup. One, can we meet the desirability vision for our consumers, Have we understood and talked to and adequately found a solution to meet a need that solves something for a user? And then are we getting users into our products, So it really is focused on customer acquisition, and can we build something that can scale and that can have a meaningful impact, Obviously, meaningful impact is both on the consumer and their lives, but obviously from a corporation and our bottom line. But really about kind of, are we building platforms that can continue to grow and live in the future, and looking at, are we, the number one metric being, are we actually getting consumers to come into our product, and are we actually solving those needs that we identified? I mean, I think from in COVID, I think is a unique experience that we're all going through, and resources is the name of the game. I think the one good thing that certainly at Nationwide has done a good job of, I think I would encourage everyone to repivot is, how do you use COVID and limited resources as an opportunity? Right, there are a lot of opportunities out there that COVID has unlocked, and you think of what your brand can do in those moments, how you can extend your brand into really what is a more personal experience. Right, there's 5 of us on the call. We're all in our homes. We're all now having a much more closer relationship. And how does a brand take advantage of that? And how do we take advantage of being able to tap into talent anywhere in a way that we might not have been able to before?
Right.
So, depending on where your company is, right, the world, but, I would definitely say, right, think about and probe your leadership to think about how do we take opportunities and leverage the moment, right, and just start thinking about talent differently, right? You can now, sorry, Alex, get talent from the Californias that you might not have been able to get before, or Tel Aviv, or anywhere around the world to help get your product and your vision out there. So how do we just think more creatively with the new environment?